Going back to check the game cameras. Every day I go back with my dog and check out to see what wildlife has come by the ranch. I'm going to show you how to set up your own DIY trail camera using an old DSLR. If you want to learn more about the gear I'm using, check the links in the description below. And if you're into wildlife, camera traps, or bobcats, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This Canon Rebel XTI was the first camera I ever used as a trail camera. Not my first camera overall, but the first one I experimented with out in the field. To make it work for wildlife, we'll need a few parts. First, the battery. I always write the purchase date on mine. Replacement batteries only last a few years, and it's good to know how old they are. Then, I set the auto power off to 30 seconds, so it doesn't waste power between shots. On top, I mount a hot shoe trigger for the flash. This is a wired setup. It uses a sync cord that connects the camera to the flash, so every time the shutter fires, it sends a signal through the cord and triggers the flash. I'm using a Camtraptions flash connected via a sync cord to a hot shoe adapter on the camera. You could also use their wireless trigger system if you prefer a cable-free setup. For motion detection, I'm using an IR trigger I bought a few years back. These were sold under different brand names and made in China. You can't find this exact model anymore, but there are others out there, just more expensive now. I got mine used for $35. I plug it directly into the camera. When something moves in front of the sensor, it triggers the camera to take a shot. In this setup, the motion sensor is mounted right on the camera. In more advanced setups, I move the sensor off to the side for better positioning. To avoid false triggers from blowing branches, I made a simple box to narrow the sensor's field of view. This helps it focus just on the trail and ignore things like trees 5 feet above. I recommend using a cheap trail cam first to scout where the animals are crossing before committing to a full still photo setup like this one. When you're ready, a flash helps a lot, especially at night. I throw a simple bag over everything to protect it from light rain. Since I'm in Southern California, heavy rain isn't a big concern, but it has survived summer storms just fine. Here's the flash I'm using, hardwired to keep it reliable. And there's Sierra, my trail partner. She always comes along when I check the cameras. She's a good dog. You might notice other flashes going off. Those are from a second camera trap I have nearby. That one's more complex. What I'm showing here is the simple basic setup I started with. Later, I began using some of my better older DSLRs for trail setups. They weren't worth much to sell, but they're still capable of taking great photos, and that's far more valuable to me. Back at the computer, I load everything into Lightroom to see what we captured over the past couple of days. This stretch was surprisingly active. I got more shots than usual, both during the day and at night. Here's a possum, probably the same one that stops by almost every night. I've seen this guy, or one like him, on the trail cam for months. And another shot, different night, same trail. Sometimes the flash startles them a little, but for the most part, they just carry on. Here's a skunk investigating the setup. They're curious and sometimes sniff around the camera. The flash doesn't seem to bother them either. This particular camera has a slightly noisy trigger, so now and then the animals will look right at it. My 7D setup is quieter, and most animals just ignore it. That makes a big difference, especially for shy wildlife. And here's a nice surprise, a bobcat. You can see how well the flash lit it up. That's what I love about using a DSLR. You're getting full color images, even at night, instead of grainy black and white IR photos. This one stopped right in the center of the frame, textbook trail cam moment. In the second photo, the flash didn't fire, so the coyote isn't well lit. Later that night, a coyote came through. All of this happened in just one night. That's not typical, but it's what keeps me checking every morning. Most backyards won't get this kind of traffic. Out here, the trail gets regular use from all kinds of wildlife. But even in a suburban yard, if you've got something passing through and you want to figure out what it is, this setup works great. The still photos give you better detail and better lighting, especially if you're trying to ID animals or share the images. Here's one where I'm adjusting the sensor zone. You can see where false triggers were happening from movement in the trees. I rejected a few of those shots to save disk space, but I always double check before deleting. Sometimes a blurry shot still has value. You might catch something just outside the frame or find a detail you missed. So when in doubt, I keep it and just move it to a backup drive. And that's the basics of setting up your own DIY trail camera using older DSLR gear. It doesn't have to be fancy. Even with older cameras like this Canon Rebel XTI, you can get beautiful full-color photos of wildlife right in your backyard, out at the ranch, or wherever you're exploring. If you want to check out the exact gear I used or explore some of my other setups, you'll find all the links in the description below. And if you like seeing wildlife up close, especially bobcats, make sure to subscribe. I've got a separate video about a bobcat family that visited our home. It's one of my favorite encounters, and it's linked right here on the end screen. Thanks for watching, and happy tracking.